Hey guys, what's up everyone? It's Nick here from the Underdog Experience podcast. Alliance of Lions, my guest for today's episode. You know, everyone, I was promoting them all week and stuff. Well, they had to reschedule last minute. We still have to determine a future date, but schedule conflicts and prior commitments got in the way, and it's understandable. They're a busy group, and I get it. But don't worry. We've got an episode coming out. It's coming out right now. Well, not right now. It's coming out tonight. I'm gonna go in after this and record the entire thing. It's gonna be with a cool dude, though. Trust me when I say this. It wouldn't even been possible without Detron from last episode hooking this whole thing up. It's one of Detron's friends. Justin Hill is his name. And in a few minutes of meeting him, dude, like I knew right away. I was like, this guy's got to be on the show. He's got some pretty captivating stories and experiences to share with everyone. And in regards to, firearms industry, tactical versus being an actual tactical person. Competitive shooting, weapons builds, all that good stuff. Plus, he's just an awesome dude. I don't know, he's just a good guy. So this should be fun, guys. This should be a ton of fun. Pretty pumped about it. Pretty pumped. Definitely would appreciate, any feedback, as always. And word of mouth, share the podcast around, It's the best way to do it, I think. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Underdog Experience podcast. If my voice sounds shaky, it's because I'm fucking freezing outside, but it's the early days of the show, man. Doing my outro, or my intros and my outros outside before I go into the shop and record. But yeah, guys, I hope you really enjoy this episode. Thank you much. What's up, guys? We're back. Not live, but kind of live. I'll be posting this shortly after the episode. But it's me and Detron Jones sitting down with Justin Hill. What's up, dude?
How's it going?
Good, man. Good. How are you?
I'm great.
Hell yeah. So, if you want to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, I'm going to post a bio, but whatever you want them to know.
I'm pretty much just a normal guy. I like to do a lot of shooting, a lot of outside of the house things. I'm a machinist.
Hell yeah.
I made airplane parts for 10 years, and then recently switched over to the gun industry.
Dude, that's dope.
So that's something that I've been pretty passionate about for a while, and it's always been something I've wondered, can I even make those parts and stuff like that? Just because it's something that if you don't do it, you don't really know how it's done.
Oh, dude. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I look at it, I'm like, I don't know how you would even do that, but it's fucking crazy that we can do that as humans.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So it's pretty cool what we can achieve with a few machines and stuff. So, but yeah, besides that, I competition shoot, at least, 3 to 4 times a month, depending on, the time of the year. Sometimes during the summer, I get a lot more shoots in just because of the weather. Mm-hmm. But yeah, those pretty much, that's all the stuff that's taking up my time right now in life, besides preparing for all of them and working. So,
right.
It's kind of like a struggle to balance all this stuff like everybody else has.
Yeah. So, how long have you been shooting, man?
Well, it's been, I started in late 2014, and so I didn't really get a full season in my first year. So 2015 was pretty much my first full season.
Breakout year.
Yeah. Had to get started doing something right. Just because it was something I'd been to the range a couple of times and heard people shooting super fast. I'm like, man, they don't let us do that.
Yeah.
Because, most ranges around here have a 1 second per, 1 second per shot rule. So then you can't rapid fire and all the other stuff, just because most people probably would mess up and start shooting stuff they're not supposed to. So I get it. Yeah. So that's what made me kind of pursue what was going on over there. Reached out, found a couple of people that I had known that had done it before. And then that's when I started getting into the IDPA side of it. which is where I started my competition shooting. Yeah.
Where was your first competition held?
I actually started up at Paul Bunyan Rifle Club in South Hill, Puyallup, Washington. So
I used to live up there.
yeah, it's a great range. I've been a member there for almost 10 years now. Actually,
Oh yeah.
I'm starting to get old.
Yeah, man.
Age
So-
is a number.
Like for me, like
Always
my
on the
go-to
shield.
gun, like shit hits the fan scenario, would be a Glock and some type of I'd say assault rifle,
Yeah.
whatever have you. But for me, man, I'm a big Glock guy. I trust them,
too.
and it's never let me down. Super reliable firearm, man. Like, so what do you shoot IDPA with?
Well, right now, depending on the class, because now that I'm a few years into it, you've got to kind of bounce around the classes to get actually all your classifications done. So, like, they have certain courses of fire that you'll go through that are like standardized, and so it's like numbers they've come up with that if you shoot this, you're this class or whatever it comes up with,
Gotcha.
And so right now this year for this season, I'm going to be shooting for IDPA in the ESP division, and I'll be shooting the STI Eagle that's chambered in 40 cal because I also use that in USPSA because I actually shoot both competitions fluidly. So to save some money, because I'm not rich, I built a gun that would do both.
Hell yeah, that's fucking dope.
Yeah. So I'll be shooting that a lot in IDPA, but on the USPSA side, for my sponsorships from Jones Arms and with everybody else, with Ballistic Advantage and Aero Precision and everybody else that helps support me, I'll be moving into what's called the PCC division too. And that you're shooting a 9mm AR. They call it the pistol caliber carbines now. Pretty much I'll have a 16-inch barrel and I'll shoot 9mm. And that allows us to actually shoot in the action bays at clubs like Paul Bunyan.
Okay.
That won't allow us to shoot like a normal AR. Because shooting like the 5.56, for instance, if someone was to fall and accidentally shoot around, shooting a 9mm bullet is a lot less problem than shooting a 5.56 bullet because where it's going to land you don't know. The 9mm, it's going to travel farther, but the damage that it does when it gets there is probably going to be a little less.
Yeah.
Considering you can group 600 yards with a 5.56, no problem. So depending on who you are, anyway.
Okay.
So, I think that as I move forward, I'll probably build a couple of different more guns. But for right now, I'm going to stick with the STI Eagle and then my Jones Arm Chronos
And then
9mm
the
PCC.
STI Eagle, that's like essentially a 1911, right?
Well, yeah, and so it's technically it's a 2011. So they've rebuilt the 1911 to a double stack pistol.
Okay.
So you get the capacity that you need to get through longer stages and stuff like that because
That was a complaint. I remember people were complaining about it being single stack. Like, if it could stay the same, just make it double.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of companies. I think Remington actually just came out with their they call it their Remington 1911 double stack.
Okay.
But it's supposed to be a double stack 9mm. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Just released at a SHOT Show 2018. Pretty cool.
What's like so if I wanted to get into a double stack 1911 made by STI, like what's the price range? Like what is like to get into the Eagle? Like what does something like that cost?
So it's just like any other gun now with the Glocks. You can start with the stock gun, or you can start with the Ferrari gun. And that's kind of like how you got to think about it. Like, how much money is this worth to me?
Right.
And how much does this work involved give me a benefit in my shooting, and how much of it is actually going to help, or is it just cosmetic and look cool, whatever it's going to be. But as far as starting out with a 9mm 2011 from STI, they've came out with a STI Hawk.
Okay.
And that gun looks cool. But that one starts out, if I remember right, it was a $15.99.
Oh yeah.
So you're starting out with a $1,600 pistol to start, and that's just a base model.
Yeah.
There's guys out there that I know in a couple of our forums they're spending $4,000 to $5,000 on their competition gun for one gun.
Jeez, man.
Yeah,
That's insane.
yeah.
I mean, these are Ferrari.
These are these
bad
guns
boy
are
guns, and
these
built
these guns are nuts. I mean, as far as recoil impulse goes, how the custom fitting of everything is made, they're literally perfect. I mean, and the manufacturers that are doing them are very, very skilled people. For where I come from, I mean, for me, it's like I'll just make my own,
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of the side that I come from. Maybe someday if I ever get sponsored by a big name like that, it would be a different story where I shoot something they made for me,
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, so you can spend from anywhere from $15.99, and you can find good deals on used ones.
Yeah.
You can spend $1,500 on a used one that doesn't have that many rounds on it with a few mags and maybe a holster kit or whatever else you might need to compete with.
So how many rounds does this STI Eagle hold that you're carrying?
The depending on what mags I use, because like in IDPA in my competition, the 126 millimeter mags are the only ones that are legal. So those ones are still capped out in my division at 10 rounds, but I get to start with 11 in my first one because you get one round in the chamber to start the stage.
Yep.
So I start 11 with my first mag. My second two mags have 10 rounds in them. But for USPSA, I have 140 millimeter mags, and those ones actually will hold 20 rounds.
Okay.
So, and depending on the stage, if I don't need the 20th round in there, I won't use it, just because sometimes it's still a little tight at the top, getting that round in and being super reliable.
Yeah.
So I'll run 19 depending on the stage. If I have to get 20, I'll make sure I get the 20 in. It keeps reloads from happening. It keeps stuff like that from standing still in the middle of a stage, wasting precious seconds.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Do you got like a favorite build, just overall, not for yourself? Maybe you just did it for someone else or yourself. Like,
as far as like rifles or pistols,
I want to say either, but I think you have to pick one or the other and have a favorite in each one.
honestly, I have
you have an overall favorite.
No, I have to be honest. I just built a brand new rifle. Working at Arrow, it's sitting right behind us, right here.
Hell yeah. It's bad looking in a good way.
And it's definitely my favorite weapon I've ever built. I did a lot of work that was extra gunsmithing and stuff like that to make sure it was the way I wanted. Did some extra upgrades past what a mil-spec rifle would be when it comes to an AR-15. As far as trigger goes, the bolt carrier group, I'm running an adjustable gas block, stuff like that. So then it allows you to tune the amount of gas that's going through the gun. Let your recoil, your recoil impulse comes down. I'm running a actual real muzzle brake on the front of the gun with what's called a blast shield on top from Lantac USA, and those, the way I've have it mounted is definitely one of the more flush ways I've seen it mounted.
Yeah.
And so one of the things about this gun is that I didn't expect it to be so good. And so that's what surprised me about it, and so I've really fallen in love with it.
Hell yeah. That's
Right on.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I've never really competed in IDPA, and it's something that I'm starting to pay more attention to and really wanting to get involved with. What are some of the key things I would need to get involved? I already have a Glock 19. I already own a few other guns. Like, what are some key things I'd need to get involved in this sport?
Honestly, it's really super easy. So the rules go like, because I'm actually a certified safety officer for IDPA too, but it's the rules go that you can shoot one match before you actually have to join IDPA. So you can pretty much go out to any club and they'll allow you to shoot, but you need an approved holster kit. There's companies like Blade Tech and a bunch of, probably 100 other Kydex companies now on the internet that you can find that probably have an approved IDPA holster kit just built on their website just because it's easy to buy. I know Blade Tech does offer one on there. Their website recently changed, so I might be wrong now, but it was on there. It was on there as an IDPA legal holster kit.
Oh, right.
So what you would do is go on there and order it for your firearm. If you do that, most of the clubs will have like a safety thing, a safety meeting that they'll run you through shooting a target before the match, and you'll have to show up early. So most of the clubs will have a schedule online that you can go check. It'll tell you what time you need to show up for that, usually on that schedule. If not, there is a website online called www.findshootingmatches.com, and that's based in the Pacific Northwest. And the page owner, her work's really hard to keep it updated with Washington, Oregon, and I believe Idaho, and some Utah matches.
Okay.
So that's somewhere that you can go to try and find a USPSA or IDPA or a 3-gun match, depending on what you're trying to do.
Hell yeah. 3-gun's crazy, dude. You see Keanu Reeves running those videos, the 3-gun videos.
Yeah. So
it's Keanu Reeves,
man.
legit doing it, dude.
Yeah, talented shit,
and
man.
the cool thing about Keanu is the dude is just humble as ever.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And I actually know one of Terran's sponsors. Terran Tactical is who trained Keanu through all of that down in Simi Valley, California. So check those guys out because they've got some cool stuff. I actually have a gun built by them myself. But I'm really good friends with one of their sponsored shooters.
Okay.
And so it was really cool to hear about all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes before they could actually release it to the public and all that, because I got the inside scoop. I just had to keep my mouth shut.
That's so dope.
But, so it was pretty cool to hear about it.
Cool.
And I actually got to see a picture of one of the guns really, really, really early, just because my buddy had been there that day doing some training, checking out what the condition his firearms were in, because he had a couple that were being built at that time.
Yeah.
This is before California completely banned everything for them to be able to make it.
Right.
Rest in peace to my California brothers.
Rest in peace to firearms in California in general.
It's crazy.
You can't even own a Red Ryder anymore.
It's nuts, man. But
no, it's
I still love all the guys down there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Though,
Fixed.
there's some good dudes down there.
It's just wild. Like,
what?
It's just so sad because, dude, there's just so many good people there, and
the
it's
West is one on innovation.
I feel horrible for him, man. But then there's got to be a tipping point, though. It's coming, guys.
Oh yeah,
it's coming.
It's always crazy, like, people get so sketched out about firearms, and they're like, oh god, like, why do you need that? Why do you need that? Why would you even need to have the ability to build it? Who cares? And it's like, shut the fuck up, to each their own.
Exactly.
That's like the most important thing, and I don't care how that comes across. The shoe fits, wear it, like,
exactly.
And B, it's someone's passion. Who are you to knock that? And on top of it being a passion, it's a survival skill, dude. Like, I can shoot better than average, but nowhere near competition, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, but then there's difference in competition to real life too.
Exactly.
I mean, competition gets you killed on the streets.
Yeah,
and that's one of the jokes that all of us make. It's true.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it's true. Competition will get you killed on the streets, and it will, because you're just literally running out in the open,
like
smashing paper targets as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Dude, with these crazy modded guns that malfunction every so often. I mean, most of the time the guy's got them running perfect. But, I mean, there's times where, you'll have a spring go bad, whatever happens, and you've got malfunctions that you wouldn't have with the Glock.
Especially, too, like, spring malfunctions, like, in mags, too, like, keeping your mags loaded, like, all the time. People do that all the time. Like, they'll stack 3 mags in their safe, and they're all loaded, and it's loaded for 3 months at a time, And I was even guilty of that for a while, because I just, like, forgot they're even in the drawer, So I always just rocked the one in the pistol. But, like, that I noticed as soon as I brought it out, we went rabbit hunting back in Michigan, a buddy and I and a couple other friends, and I brought it out just for everyone else to shoot or whatever, and like it had so many misfeeds in the start, and it was because I put the oldest mag in first, and it had been stacked the longest, and the spring was so dead and wore out, and I was like, and they weren't expensive mags to begin with, they were basically factory, so. And
that's one of the other things too. I mean, there's people on both sides of that. And I'm not even going to start the conversation just because
it's people are so tribal about it.
I feel one way about it that may align with what you just said. And then other people feel a complete different way. I mean, my roommate, even that he's upstairs, we got into it one day over that exact thing. Yeah. But it's just like, I mean, I load all my mags that I know I'm going to train with.
Yeah.
then I know that the max they're going to be loaded is maybe a month.
Right.
And it's never going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You let them sit there for a year or two, and I mean, the spring length on your gun, on your mag, when you pull it out, it's going to change.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference. Does it change how much weight and pressure that the spring applies? I don't know. I mean, I'm only so smart.
Yeah.
You know, I can figure a few things out, but I mean, that takes somebody that's like, you know, above my pay grade. You know,
Yeah.
so we, but it's kind of fun to have those debates though at some point. You know?
Yeah, it's funny. That's the same thing. Like, and I feel like I'm on the minority end of this one, but whatever. I mean, I think I have valid reasoning for it. It's like I don't chamber around even when I'm carrying, like, unless it's like a situation that I know is going to be potentially, you know, hostile in some way. Then I will chamber before. But it's, and I've run into people that are like, oh, well, then why are you carrying a gun? You should be always prepared and know that, you know, rounds in there, everything's, you know, you should always be ready. Well, okay, that's what you think about why I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because, every time I've trained, when I was doing training with, you know, Olympus Consulting Group out of Olympia and Lacey, Washington, like pistol training with them and stuff, like that, and military, and even in between stages, like I would always practice drawing from holster, bringing it to Soul, you know, and then by the time it's at Soul, I've already chambered around, and it's so from this little space in time and in reality too, it's just like done. I'm already there, so I don't feel the need to have it chambered to where, especially now because I haven't ever really carried it with a chambered round in like 2-3 years, so I don't feel the need now to like chamber around and be like, oh yeah, for 3 years I've never chambered around. Oh, there's a round in there. You know, when I pass it to my buddy, or my wife grabs it, you know, or moves it, or something happens. We don't have kids. We live around kids, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want that shit to go south, and there's no reason for it, especially because I'm prepared and feel prepared and comfortable and trained enough to at least cover that movement.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think that's also part of just what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, like, I would rather have someone carry a gun that has a loaded mag in it that's not chambered than have them not carry a gun at all.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean, because I understand I mean, when you conceal a weapon, your biggest weapon is actually, you know, surprise, because nobody knows you have it. And so I think that on your standpoint, that being able to duck around a corner, chamber around, and then go about your business maybe to help eliminate a threat.
Yeah.
I mean, it is maybe not a horrible idea, depending on what defense
It's all it's all like situation, like
training you have. You know?
and it's all based off like what's happening in that you can't ever really predict it. You know, like you could be at a 7-Eleven and getting an energy drink at like 10 o'clock at night, and some dude runs in to rob the old Indian lady behind the counter. You know, and now you're like, fuck, I got my gun on me. I know there's not a round chambered. I also don't know if I need to shoot him right now because what's my backstop? Is it her?
And not only that, I mean, does he have a gun?
Exactly. Is he just sitting there demanding money? Is he you know, look aggressive, but he's just tweaked on meth and has no weapon? So
if he doesn't have a gun,
he's shooting in the back, do I need to move somewhere to present myself, show myself, you know, announce myself? Okay, yes, let me move here. It's not. People think, but split second saves lives. That's very true, but in most situations that most gun carriers are going to run into in that situation like that is going to be you're going to have a couple minutes, or at least an elongated 30 seconds to kind of set. I mean, you would hope, because you're carrying a gun, you know, to assess an approach and then, you know, go from there. But every time I practice, I started with, you know, drawing in the mirror, just watching myself and everything, positions. And then now I do that, and I'll like treat the garage like at my house back in my parents' house back in Michigan. When we moved back to Michigan and I was back there visiting them, I treat the garage like a 7-Eleven getting robbed, and kind of how I would maneuver. And it's like, oh, that's a crazy guy with a gun, but hey, you can't see the house on the road, so it don't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm training just because you never fucking know, dude.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that one guy that, carried a gun and got killed, carried a gun, didn't do shit, carried a gun and still couldn't do, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. I carry a gun because I want to protect myself, my family, and assist everyone else. So let me be good at that.
Yeah, and I mean, and what you're referring to is what's called dry fire.
Yeah.
And so without dry fire, I mean, it's really hard to carry over the muscle memory that you need from each training session that you're going to put in.
Yes.
So, I mean, I have a dry fire range set up in my upper bedroom.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got arrays of targets on both sets of walls, 90 degrees from each other. I use each one for different things, and they're just set up that way. Obviously, with my rifle, I use a little bit more space in the garage. And I'll do different stuff now that I've been learning to carry over. And so when I get back out there, it's not like I'm super rusty again.
Right.
And so, I mean, a dry fire is super important, especially with your carry setup. I mean, whether you're carrying appendix, whether you're carrying, at 6 o'clock, whatever your preferred method may be.
Right.
I mean, you need to dry fire. And
yes.
Otherwise, when you actually go to do it and you need to draw your weapon, I mean, stressful situations cause serious issues for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't know how you're going to react in that situation to begin with. And if you go into it untrained on actually doing your draw and understanding how fast you can actually shoot the gun, I mean, everybody can shoot one bullet, but I mean,
right.
What if you don't hit that one bullet?
What's the placement?
Mm-hmm.
Where's
Well, they're not. I mean, I don't agree with that because if you shoot, it should hit. I mean, you should be able to. You should be able to place your sights and shoot your target with your first bullet.
Yes.
If it misses, because I know stuff happens, and that's obviously normal. I mean, a lot of the cops, if you look up the numbers, it's kind of sad when you see how many missed bullets they actually shoot. Mm-hmm. Nothing against them. It's just the fact that they're shooting against moving objects. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do, especially with the pistol.
And that's the thing is anyone that says trained or with zero training says, "Oh, I would totally do this in that situation." You have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
Like people are also like, "Well, it's fight or flight," and I know how to fight. That's what I carry. Well,
yeah.
There's also freeze, dude. That's also a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing. Freeze is real. People stop and don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you're one of those people until you've been in that situation. Maybe once, maybe twice, maybe more than that.
Yeah. And so I know that there's definitely people that are trained in this world that walk the streets that perform in those situations like champions. Mm-hmm. And then there's other people that, I mean, you literally you get this so much emotion that you can't control yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I mean, to understand who you're going to be takes this happening. And so for us to train for that situation is really it's kind of necessary because the only way that that you're going to have any type of thing is that you're going to be able to fall back on muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what state you're in, what's going on. I mean, if you're training drills like even just like if you watch people like Clint down at the Thunder Ranch, mm-hmm. The guy, I mean, he makes total sense. He's very outspoken and does an awesome job, I think, on conveying what he wants you to understand. But, I mean, he makes good points on being like, what if you get shot? What are you going to do when you get shot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People think when they get shot, they're dead, so automatically out of the fight.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
No.
You don't die.
What if you get shot in the arm? Exactly. You going to quit? Like, what are you going to do?
What if you get clipped in the fat that hangs, between your ribs and your waist? That's going to hurt like a bitch, and you're going to know, and it's going to burn, and you're going to see it. Like, how are you going to react to that? Have you ever seen that much blood? Like, it's your own blood. What are you going to do?
I talk to a lot of people, that aren't really pro 2A. And they're not really, they're like, I don't need a gun, and no one needs a gun. And it's like, well, there's people out there with firearms. And even if you're not going to play offense, you should play defense. You should probably own some body armor, or you could, get your hand on a backpack,
I mean, there's a reason why it's all legal for us to buy it.
And
I mean,
you could play a little defense. If you're not for the offense, play defense.
Yeah.
You got to do something. Protect yourself.
And that's definitely a choice you can make, and I don't see any reason that there's a problem with it. But, I mean, the other hand, I would love to try and save lives if we can. And
yeah, so I was pissing, and then I don't know what happened, but Detron said,
yeah. We had some problems happen, but no big deal. We'll just start off where
That's how this
We'll
goes,
just,
though. This whole
yeah.
podcast is like that, dude. Like, not just this episode, but like all of them. Everything's just real. Like, you're here sitting with us. You know, dogs
Yeah,
came in.
we don't have a studio. There's no red recording light.
Exactly.
You know, I'm not Puff Daddy, P Diddy,
Yep.
whatever name you want to choose from what era you're from, whatever.
Fuck yeah.
All right, so something I was thinking about is, you know, back to, you know, IDPA and competing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
for
it's
those that don't
intimidating.
know what's IDPA stand for, because some people might not know what that is.
It's the International Defense and Pistol Association.
Okay.
I think is technically what it would stand for. I'd have to look up the actual
I know
definition of it, just because I don't look at it every day.
I know it's more referred to
yeah.
as IDPA than anything, but just so some people are like, what does that mean?
But yeah, if you type in www.idpa.com, I believe it'll take you right to the website, and you can check that out.
And you can just hit Google too. If you guys don't know, just Google. What is this?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Google works, and then like USPSA is based out of Washington, actually, I believe.
Hell yeah.
And,
Blade Tech's out of Puyallup, aren't they?
Yeah, they're right up in like Frederickson, right in that industrial area up in there.
Yeah.
But you can type in uspsa.org, I know is the website for that, just because I visit it more often for checking different numbers and everything else like that, just because it's a different sport. But yeah, definitely check both of them out, see what you like better. They're both great. What other questions about it would you have as far as like the structure of the games?
So what I wanted to talk about is basically like, you know, could you give the listeners like your perspective of like the atmosphere, like what are the type of people you're shooting with? Are there women? Are there men? Are there younger individuals?
Yeah,
older
I can
individuals?
definitely
Like,
explain both.
You know, like what's it like? Because it can be very intimidating for somebody to like want to get involved in something like this.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Firearms alone are intimidating for people. I mean, alone. So
yeah, give them a sense of like what it's like. You know.
Yeah. So I know like even in the Northwest, they've even opened up like shooting sports for like super beginners where you don't have to move. You shoot like, I think it's a max of 12 rounds or 14 rounds or something per stage. Really quick, easy days. I think you shoot 4 or 5 stages a day.
Mm-hmm. Which, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think that shit right there is, no matter how long, you know, or how much experience you have growing up around guns or whatever, you swallow your pride. And I think it's a good idea, before you do any type of competing, you do that first. Do a couple of those first.
Absolutely.
I mean, just to brush off the dust and the rust and kind of be like, okay, I'm comfortable again, because it's a different stage, you know. You're shooting in a competition setting.
I think that's good that you say that, because what really it comes down to is when you get there, there's going to be people that are more advanced that have been shooting a couple of years like me that show up for maybe a practice day, and you'll end up in their squad, and so you'll see what they do, and you're like, holy crap, they just shot that in like 6 seconds. Like, whoa, how'd they do that, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's a humbling experience, because I know when I used to shoot a lot. Like, you know, I would shoot 1,000 rounds a year, no problem.
Right.
But the difference is that I was shooting 1,000 rounds, you know, 200 rounds at a time, but I'm shooting slow, 1 round a second type stuff.
Right.
Maybe out in the woods without doing proper training at all, and I'm just kind of out there banging the trigger and having fun.
Yeah.
And it's a lot different 1,000 rounds when you're not paying attention to where your sights are the whole time. I mean, yeah, I still hit the target a lot. I mean, I was accurate. I could shoot the gun. I mean, that wasn't an issue. It was just the fact that, you know, I wasn't worrying about follow-up shots and being able to move my weapon with me and shoot and do stuff like that.
Yeah. That's a good thing, too, about follow-up shots. You brought that up, because, like, I think about follow-up shots or controlled pairs, however, whatever you know them as, or whatever you want to call it. But, like, whenever I, like, practice in the, like I said, setting up in my garage, like, you know, it's a 7-Eleven getting robbed, like, or at the range, you know, every time, I'll set it up in my mind and visualize it, and then I always do control pair or you know, follow-up shot, just because it's like, I know I carry a 9mm, which has stopping power, but it's not, you know, it's not going to stop everybody, especially not like, you know, a 280-pound guy who's, you know, on coke and is drunk and is like, got a dare to like fuck with the lady at 7-Eleven and then decides to get a wild hair up his ass and rob it, you know. And now I'm behind the counter, or I'm behind the, you know, the the little fucking chip stand, and I'm like, fuck, I can't fight this guy. This guy gets a hold of any of us, we're fucked. Like, so I gotta shoot him. I'm gonna shoot him once and be like, okay, it's over. I saved the day. No, dude, I shoot him once. He's gonna spin around and be like, like, what the fuck just hit me?
Exactly.
And come after me now. And so I always train for two right out the gate all the time, and then then I'm like, okay, follow up shots. What's happening? Assess. What's going on? Type thing. But how do you feel about Sewell? Position of Sewell? Like, 45 chest.
So as far as like my training goes, like I can't say one way or the other. Like I'm not an expert at all. Like I'm just a dude.
And a lot of it is preference.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that may be. I think that there's a place for it. Like as far as like why police train it, because I think police do that a lot. I mean, I see a lot of the cops that I shoot with assume position, while they're running with their pistol, going past barriers and stuff like that, where, that makes them more compact.
Yeah.
They can get by faster. So I see where, like, there's benefit to it. Do I do it? Probably not, just because that's something that I don't have beat into my training.
Right. Exactly.
Whether you call that a training scar or not, I don't know. But
it all comes back down to, can you perform, and you've proven that. So exactly. I mean, it's like, what's your preference? Are you comfortable with it? That's what matters.
Yeah, and so I kind of just go with what feels good, and I mean, especially if I ever find myself in a situation where I actually do have to unfortunately shoot someone. I mean, I hope I can carry over my training, because you never know. It's from what I've been told and the stuff that I've heard, that it's completely different. Almost a life-changing experience immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Yeah.
So, will you guys say we wrap this thing up and
yeah, that sounds.
People out.
Yeah, for sure. You want to do your shout outs there, Justin?
Yeah. So for like the 2018 season, I'm going to be sponsored by a few companies here that I like to shout out, and just maybe if everybody checked them out online or whatever they got to do on, these are all their Instagram handles. But I got Jones Arms. They're at Jones Arms, no space. And then they make the Kronos 9mm PCC. I'll be shooting that pretty much the full season. And then I work for Aero Precision. They're at Aero Precision, Aero_Precision on Instagram. Ballistic Advantage is one of my sponsors. They take care of me and whatever I need and all that stuff. They're great down there in Florida. Sister company to Aero Precision, that's at Ballistic Advantage on Instagram. And then actually Sage's Reloading Supply is a local company out of Renton, Washington. They're awesome. Wes helps me a ton. Super down to earth guy. Check him out on Facebook. Just search Sage's Reloading Supply. And he's got a big following, 45,000 plus people on there, I think now. That really help out with reloading information, anything you can need, and definitely order some stuff from Wes.
Hell yeah, for sure.
But I'm actually recently started being a brand ambassador for a company called Lenny and Larry's Cookies, because I do stay in shape with my athletic shooting and everything else that I have to be doing. If you go to their website, lennylary.com, you can order some of the cookies that I eat all the time when I'm on the range. They're a little high in carbs as far as macros go, but they're high in protein as well, and they're a quick snack, and they're delicious. I've got a promo code. It's BA98551. If you type that in, it'll get 20% off your first order. And then the last shout out I have here is VG6 Precision. The guys over there are one of our another sister companies at Aero Precision. They're awesome. And they help me out a ton as well. So,
hell yeah! Well, we're definitely gonna have to have you on for like another few more episodes, dude, for sure, because there's a lot more to cover. Definitely.
Absolutely, no, I love to talk, and I mean, I just started doing some more training with one of my buddies that is a service member and actually still active duty. So, hopefully, maybe we can get him on sometime. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
right on.
Yeah, he's definitely a pretty down to earth dude.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
I think it'd be cool too. It's an important aspect, like you brought up at the end in your shout outs there, is staying in shape. If you're gonna, that's a huge part of the game.
Yeah.
And people think, oh, huge guy carrying a gun, that's the biggest threat. No, dude, like stay in like mobile, movable shape. Like
Yeah.
you can move, you're agile, but you know your body, know your limits. So that'll definitely be a good topic for another episode too.
Oh yeah, I mean, even just yesterday, I was sucking wind when we were training, and
Yeah.
I was like, man, trouble hitting the target. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'm on rep 15 of running, 30 to 40 yards, doing stuff on purpose to make that happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
definitely something we can pick up on later.
for sure, dude. It's gonna be awesome. I'm excited. Detron, you got anything, dude?
No, man, just thank
is
you
all
guys for
thanks to
listening,
you.
man, and just stay tuned. We got some really good stuff coming your way, and yeah, thanks for listening.
Hell yeah, guys. Thank you. See you
See ya.
later. Hell yeah. Awesome, guys. Thank you. I really hope you enjoyed episode 5 of the Underdog Experience podcast. Sorry it wasn't Alliance Alliance, the music group, for those of you excited for that. Like I said, tune in later. They'll be back at some point. I'll be sure to update you guys. But I really hope you guys are all enjoying the show and its progression. You guys, the fans, listeners, even if you're not a true fan, I don't care. If you're listening, thank you. I mean, you guys are truly the ones that make up the foundation for this show. Like, without fans, I'd just be some crazy borderline homeless dude, like, yelling at my computer and phone for hours and staying up late and typing for no reason and doing show outlines for nothing. So you guys make it all possible. Like I said, I'm always going to have free episodes out. So no matter if this thing gets 1 million listeners, followers, or no more than what it has now, it's always going to be available and free. That's the number one thing I want to get across. But other than that, guys, check out Underdog Experience podcast on Facebook, on YouTube. Subscribe to that channel for me. That'd be dope. Got, Instagram handle is at UDXP_17. And Twitter is at TR Nick, NICK, B, as in boy, 93. That was my personal handle, and I changed it to the show handle, so apologize for the weird name. But yeah, hope you guys have a great week. As always, stay positive, spread those vibes, and enjoy life, man. It's short. All right, love you guys. Take it easy. See ya.